There's no doubt in my mind that the Chimera Ant Arc is a masterpiece in storytelling and one of the most memorable things to come out of the anime genre. The engaging fights, gripping storytelling, and emotional moments made this arc one for the ages and something that will always hold a special place in a lot of our hearts. But there's no denying that one component of this arc polarized the fandom completely. And it wasn't a character who we, the audience, ever had the chance to see on screen. If you aren't quite getting what I'm hinting at, I'll let this character speak for himself.
キルアが宮殿に突入した瞬間、思ったことは
やっぱりな。
であった。
For many, the narrator was an incredibly divisive character. On one hand, you had people who believed that his comments were absolutely unnecessary and made this arc progress at a snail's pace, while on the other hand, you had others who thoroughly enjoyed how he was used as a plot device to completely immerse the viewer into understanding the complex human emotion that was prevalent throughout many of the arc scenes. So you may be asking, what side do I choose to stand on? Well, I mainly agree with the latter in that the narration is a stroke of literary genius and provides a refreshing insight into the deep human ideas that wouldn't have as much of an impact if the characters had spoken it themselves. I can't wait to explain why I believe this, so without any further delay, let's get right into it. What's up, anime fanbase? Welcome back to Anime Analysis, a channel dedicated to discussing and analyzing all things anime has to offer. Within specific examples found throughout the Chimera Ant Arc, we're exploring how Hunter x Hunter's narrator accentuates the themes of humanity and is what I believe to be its most underrated character. If you enjoy this video and want to see more Hunter x Hunter analysis content similar to this, hit the thumbs up button and comment down below. Narration at a base level seeks to provide the audience with key information that's not otherwise stated. Having experienced this through all the media we've watched over the years, this concept is oftentimes overlooked as we barely recognize that it's happening. However, apart from telling the audience the character's actions, setting the scene, or outlining general events that are taking place, narration can serve a much greater purpose and truly broaden the emotional capacity of the storyteller. The way that Togashi employs the narrator throughout the palace invasion highlights this concept beautifully. In previous arcs within Hunter x Hunter, the narrator had mostly been a character who spoke only at the ends of each episode to recap the viewer on the events that just took place. Normally, the things told by the narrator were fairly surface level and brought the viewer into many of the things known by the characters within the Hunter x Hunter world. Slowly and progressively, however, the narrator takes more and more liberties, examining developments within characters that were not explained outright, or they were epiphanies made by characters within key moments of the story. One example of this includes when the palace invasion begins. The narrator explains the thoughts and feelings of Pito as they were looking for intruders. The narrator stating, and I quote, "The countless dragons that rained down were less significant threats than the humans in the sky," was a key indicator to the power of both Netero and Zeno, truly highlighting Pito's undying loyalty to the king. As explained in my Pito video, I'll leave a card in the video right here, their actions, whether more like a human or chimera ant, are all for serving their king. This narration, both at the beginning of the invasion and while protecting Komugi from Gon, seeks to explain this character trait through Pito's actions. The point that I'm trying to make through this small example is that the narrator is the king of context throughout the entirety of the palace invasion, and we see this in not only members of the royal guard like Poof and Yuppie, but also the invaders themselves. Speaking of the invaders, the narrator also serves to highlight not only character consistency, but also character growth. Take for example Shoot during his fight with Yuppie. Shoot had been introduced as a character who was plagued with indecisiveness, cowardice, and not being confident in his abilities. Through the narrator, the viewer is able to realize how he slowly begins to overcome this character trait and be his bravest self for the sake of others. This realization made by Shoot would have lost way more value if he had said it himself, and frankly wouldn't have really made much sense. And while these are two isolated examples I mentioned, the narrator provides exposition for almost every character involved in the invasion, including Gon, Killua, Netero, Moro, Meruem, Welfin, Ikalgo, and so on. The major theme present in this arc is the notion behind the question of what it means to be human. The narrator truly enriches the viewer by making the characters feel grounded and that their individual transformations they all experience throughout the palace invasion feel well placed. So yes, I do understand the narrator can be incredibly boring when explaining really obvious actions, but in actuality, he's there for a much greater purpose, which is to make the intensity of the Chimera Ant Arc come alive. While I know this week's video was a little short and sweet, just explaining my key thoughts on the narration in the Chimera Ant Arc, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Did it slow down the pacing for you, or did you enjoy its deliberate descriptions of events during the palace invasion? If you enjoyed this, make sure you check out my growing Hunter x Hunter playlist as I take a deep analytical dive into many of Hunter x Hunter's characters. For those that made it to the end of the video, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you come away from the video with a little more context or maybe your own individual thoughts behind this beautifully crafted arc. It's been Dill from Anime Analysis, and until next time, stay curious, anime fam.